Okay, this is a Suzuki VS700. This is the wiring diagram for a Suzuki VS700. The issue was extremely long crank time, poor tick over, and occasionally cutting out when backing off the throttle while the bike is sort of coming to a stop. It could be bump started again, it would run, but generally speaking, extended crank time was the major issue. It proved to be this little beast, which is the fuel pump relay. Now it's a solid state relay, which, if it'll focus, it primarily consists of a thyristor, which is the solid state switch. Now the one that you're looking at now is the replacement item. The one that was defective within there was this one. Can't quite, there you go, 3P4MH. I did look online to try and obtain the direct replacement, but that seemed to be a sort of defunct item. So I obtained, please focus, what I obtained, what I could find to be the nearest suitable option, if you like. Now the state of the PCB is because they bury these things in a potting compound, which is like a thick black tar substance, and it's extremely difficult to remove the items without damage. And as careful as you might be, the components get stuck into the tar and can get damaged quite easily. Hence, resistor R1, which is missing, is actually been soldered to the rear face of the PCB. Anyway, the long and short of this is that it's a solid state relay. Power comes in to the anode in the center as we're looking at it. Sorry, orientate it the correct way. So power comes into the anode and exits via the cathode through the brown wire, but only when it's been switched on by the gate, which is the black wire. However, let me correct that. The gate actually comes in, the switching wire comes in on the yellow side, comes in round through a Zener diode, and then operates the gate. Now once the gate's open, it stays open, and so once the pump is activated, in effect, which is connected to this end, once the gate's open and it's allowed the current to flow through from the orange, through the anode, out through the gate, down the brown wire to the pump, then the pump keeps running for the period of time that the ignition is on. This yellow is operated by the starter. We'll have a look at that in the wiring diagram, again if the camera will focus. So here we can see the fuel pump relay and the fuel pump itself in the wiring diagram. So if we trace that back, we've got brown and blue, which comes back to the fuel pump relay. Now the colours are a slight, on the actual relay itself, the colours are a slight variation, so whether this has been replaced before, I'm not entirely sure. Please focus. So the colours are the basic colours without the stripes or without the colour marker. So as we look at this on the existing relay that we've been repairing, we've got yellow, brown, orange and black. Now to try and show exactly where how this functions, as I say, the yellow is the operative cable or wire that brings through the power to energize it, and it comes from the igniter unit, which is under the seat of the bike, alongside this. When it's in position, the relay is also under the seat of the bike. So we can see we come through, get a bit of a pointer. At this moment we'll be tracing the orange and white, and it comes through, jumps over the page. It serves the coils, ignition coils, both ignition coils. It's a V-twin motorcycle. That then comes through and goes via the engine stop switch, which is the handlebar mounted stop switch, through the starter switch, the push button starter, which, as you can see, is a normally open. Obviously it's a normally open switch. So when we press the start, we energize the relay, as we've just said, via the gate. So if we follow that down, we can see, here we go, all the way down. That travels through the clutch switch, because on this motorcycle you need to pull the clutch in order to allow the bike to turn over and start. And then it jumps the page again, and here we come down to provide the yellow, as it is, to our solid state relay. That energizes the gate momentarily for the amount of time that the starter is turning over, and as I say, once the starter button is released, that then removes power from the gate. But a property of the thyristor is that it then remains engaged and power continues to flow from the orange to the brown until the ignition's turned off, and then it starts all over again. It's very hacked about, but it works. Connected it up to the bike, and from an extremely poor and extended crank time, the bike started as soon as the starter was touched. It's made a massive difference. Now, whether we actually go on to build a new PCB for this, I think it's quite unlikely. I think it'll go back in some potting compound the way it is. It's tried it, tested it, it's working fine. It doesn't look pretty, but it's going to get buried in compound, and should it go faulty, it will get dug back out or replaced. £84 plus the dreaded VAT is what they were asking for this item. The thyristor to replace it cost me £5. I have replaced the Zener diode, which is this item here, only because the one that worked, the one that was in the circuit board, it did act as a diode, but it didn't require the Zener voltage to get it to operate. If you want to know about that, have a look. There's plenty of videos on how Zener diodes function, but suffice to say, I replaced it with a 3.3 volt Zener diode, and I think it must have cost about £1 or something for 10 or something from RS Components. Anyway, for about £7 compared to £84 plus VAT, whatever that comes out to, we've got ourselves a nice functioning, well, not nice, looks pretty disgusting, but it works, and that'll do for me. Enjoy.